Good morning. Well, I have to say I'm really excited to be part of the first small business conference and to be the first speaker, so I hope that becomes really memorable. And I have to say, Tim, I've known you for a long time, and you never cease to amaze me, but this is quite remarkable. And I could talk about you forever, but he's only given me 15 minutes. So enough about you. Let's talk a little bit about me. So basically, today I just want to tell you two things. I want to tell you why I happen to be standing up here now, and then I want to tell you my 10 steps to a great attitude, which is the same thing as 10 steps to success. So first, a little bit about me. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial retail family. We always worked. We always discussed business. I graduated with a degree in accounting from Georgia State, and then I went to work for Alexander Grant, which today is Grant Thornton. I stayed for 2.5 years, just long enough to get my CPA. I left, if I'd stayed a lot longer, I would have gotten fired because I wasn't really very good at accounting. I figured out I was a big picture person, not a detailed person, but I left, as Tim said, because along with several members of my family, we decided to open a music store, and that was Turtles Records and Tapes, and then we changed the name to Turtles Music as music progressed. We grew the business from ground up to 25 stores in 5 years, and we sold out. And then I was looking for something else to do, and I wanted to be able to keep my hands in the business world, but I also had 2 little girls at the time, and I wanted to be able to drive my own carpools. So I opened a children's clothing store in my neighborhood called Bubblegum, and then I opened a ladies' clothing store called Therapy. I had these 2 businesses for about 8 years, and then as my children got older, I got a little antsy, and I wanted to do something more which I could grow into a chain. And that's when I opened in 1990 the first Chapter 11, the discount bookstore. Our slogan was, "Prices so low you'd think we're going bankrupt." And early on in our career, the Wall Street Journal wrote a story about us, and they said our recipe for success consisted of 3 things. 1, deep discounts. Well, we all know price is so important, and it was for us. 2, aggressive publicity. And I really feel like that was a lot of what put us on the map. Was we tried to get our name out there. It didn't matter how big or small. To us, even a small mention of Chapter 11 was the equivalent of a Coca-Cola billboard. So PR and advertising is really, really important. And then it says accessible locations, which we all know the location is so important. The one thing they didn't talk about was customer service, and I think, bar none, Chapter 11 had the best customer service of any bookstore in the country. So again, another great tip for us small business owners, customer service is so, so important. I sold the business when we had 14 stores 11 years later. I sold not because I really saw the writing on the wall of what was going to happen in the bookstore business, but I sold because I really wanted to pursue a different career. But thankfully, and it wasn't Barnes & Noble and Borders that would put us out of business. Amazon came along. It really wasn't that. Really what's changed the bookstore market more than anything is that great little tool, the Kindle. So anyway, I got out because when I was in the bookstore business, people asked me to speak all the time. And I thought, oh my God, what an easier way to make a living, getting up, making a speech. You're done. You have no inventory. You have no labor issues. And so I sold my business to become a speaker. And lo and behold, business is sold. The phone stopped ringing. When I owned the bookstores, I had this great platform. I was a woman in a high-profile business. When I sold it, I was just Barbara Babbitt Kauffman. But I knew, being a bookstore owner, that if you wrote a book, all authors have instant credibility, and it doesn't matter if you sell 1 book or 10,000 books, no one knows the difference. So I wrote a book, and I became a speaker. I'm also a consultant today, so I do a little bit of both. So I just want to talk about in my 15 minutes my 10 steps to a great attitude, which in turn will give you success. These 10 steps are the things that I follow to this day through my whole career, and it helped me truly to get where I am. They're really 10 simple steps. You don't need to write them down because you can buy my book, and, and they're all in my book. So let's get started. Number 1, make it happen. Make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. That's my mantra. How many of you have a mantra? Okay, just a few. How many of you know what a mantra is? Okay, a few more. Okay, a mantra is an inspiring statement that we say over and over again to ourselves to give us focus and energy. I learned this very valuable tool a really long time ago. I happened to be Maynard Jackson's assistant treasurer. And as I hope all of you know, Maynard Jackson was one of Atlanta's great mayors. Well, they came to me and they said, Barbara, your job is, we're having Bill Cosby come to town. You're in charge of the fundraiser. You have to raise X amount of dollars. And I went, oh my goodness gracious, how am I going to do this? I hadn't even planned my own wedding. I had no idea. But thankfully, I had a mentor. And he sat me down and he said, Barbara, you have to make it happen. One day at a time, one step at a time. And from that minute on, I started saying, make it happen, make it happen. I made a phone call, I made another phone call, I built a committee, and we put together a great fundraiser. We raised the money we needed, and we elected a great mayor. So if you don't have a mantra, you can borrow mine till you come up with your own, but it is an essential tool to success. Number 2. Never take no for an answer. Never take no for an answer. Look at no as a challenge. Rework it until you get some semblance of a yes. And sometimes it can take a day, a month, or a year, but keep at it. Never take no for an answer. I learned this very valuable tool, again, when I decided to go into the bookstore business. I did all my research, I did my budgets, my forecasts, I did all the things, and I was ready to get started. But then all of a sudden I got a little nervous because when I traveled around the country to other major cities, Barnes & Nobles were everywhere. But in 1990, when I went into the bookstore business, Atlanta did not have Barnes & Noble, and we had one Borders. And I started to wonder why. So my sophisticated research consisted of calling 3 of the major publishers and asking them the simple question, why are Barnes & Noble and Borders not in Atlanta? And this is a true story. 2 of the 3 publishers said to me, Barnes & Noble and Borders are not in Atlanta because the South is illiterate. That is the same reaction I had. And I'm a native Atlantan. I knew I loved to read, and I knew everyone around me loved to read. So I had 2 choices. Usually when a big company that has sophisticated research says something to you like this, you have to stop and wonder. But I never take no for an answer. I went on, opened the bookstores, and as we know, I grew it to 14 stores, sold it successfully, and never take no for an answer. Number 3. Everything is an opportunity. Everything in life is an opportunity. It's up to you to look for it. Everything, it doesn't matter. It can be when things are good and when things are not good. First of all, you need to have lots of irons in the fire. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're looking for new business, don't just go after one contact. You need to have lots working because no one likes rejection. If you can't get the first one, you just move on to the second one. It's the same thing if you want to meet someone new in your life. Don't just be involved in one activity, be involved in lots of things. If you're looking for a job, have lots of resumes out there. But always be looking for the opportunity when things are good and when things are not so good. For me, when things are good, an example, my first daughter got married, and she got married at the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead. 5 months later, the second daughter was engaged and got married, and she wanted a destination wedding, and we're looking at places to have the second wedding. And I decided, well, we were thinking about maybe having it at the Ritz-Carlton at Lake Oconee. So I called the woman at the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead. I said, you know, we're thinking about having this wedding at Lake Oconee Ritz-Carlton, but, you know, if we do 2 weddings in 5 months, we're going to be one of your biggest customers. We think you need to, like, give us a little something extra. So she says to me, she says, okay, Barbara, what do you want? So I said, how about a 2-week stay in a suite in any Ritz-Carlton in the country that we desire? So she comes back a day or 2 later, she says, okay. So my husband and I enjoyed a great 2-week stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Bachelor Gulch. So look for opportunities when things are good. What about when things aren't so good? When I got divorced from my first husband, you know, when you get divorced, it's the worst time in your life. But you have to understand, I was the financial person, he's the creative person. He's sort of known in Atlanta as the creative guru of Atlanta. So he doesn't really understand dollars and cents because he's the creative one. So I decide to put in our divorce decree that he has to do my advertising for free for 10 years, knowing since he doesn't have to write a check, he'll probably agree. Lo and behold, he agreed. He did my advertising for free for 10 years. So even when things are not so good, you can look for that opportunity. Number 4, just ask. Ask for what you want. Do you know that it's like so hard for most people? Why? Number 1, because we're afraid someone will tell us no, but we've already learned we never take no for an answer, and we're also afraid we're appearing pushy. But if you don't ask, you don't get. It sort of became sometimes in my business career, everybody knew I felt you have to ask for what you want. And so they always ask me for everything, raises, blah, 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 blah. But in general, ask for what you want or you won't get it. I learned this very valuable lesson a long time ago. I was going to buy my first car, and I went to buy it by myself. And I bought, and I'm going to date myself just a little bit, but I bought a Sable station wagon, okay? So I get home, and I'm really, really excited. I have this brand new car. I thought I negotiated this really good deal. And the phone rings, and it's my girlfriend, and her name is Barbara also, coincidentally. And she says, hey, what's going on? I go, nothing. And I said, what's going on with you? She said, well, I just bought a new car. And I went, you're kidding. So did I. So I said, well, what did you buy? And she proceeded to tell me that she had bought the exact same car that I had bought. So I said to her, I said, Barbara, I have to ask you a really personal question. I said, how much did you pay for the car? So she tells me, and she had paid $2,000 less than I had paid. Well, let me tell you something. $2,000 is a lot today, but can you imagine how much $2,000 was when you're buying a Sable station wagon? I was devastated. I hung up the phone. I picked it right back up, and I called the owner of the dealership. His name was Frank Jackson. It was Frank Jackson, Lincoln Mercury on Roswell Road. And I called him up, and I told him this story. And you can just hear him in the background going, this crazy woman. But he says, okay, I'll research it. He calls, and he says, and I'll get back to you within 48 hours. Lo and behold, the phone rings about 24 hours later, and he says, Barbara, there's a $2,000 check in the mail to you. Well, I learned a very valuable lesson that I use every day, and you need to start also. Number 5, networking. Okay, we're all here for lots of different reasons. One of them is networking. I'm here also for networking. I hope you all ask me to speak to your group when this is all said and done. But networking is so, so important. The more people you know, the more knowledge you gain, the more opportunities that will come your way. So whenever you get a chance, be involved in every single thing you can. I would say 90% of my successes in life is about who I know and not what I know. My favorite networking story happened several years ago. My parents were going to South Africa on vacation, and I happened to call my dad when he was at the ticket counter, at the Delta ticket counter, getting ready to leave, and he sounded really agitated. And I go, Dad, what's the matter? And he goes, they won't let me on the plane. I go, what do you mean they won't let you on the plane? He says, you have to go to South Africa, you have to have 3 blank pages in your passport, and we only have 2. So I said, well, Dad, do you want me to call one of my friends at Delta? And he goes, no, you can't help me, because my dad's sort of like me. He feels like if he can't do it, no one can do it. So I hang up the phone, and I'm thinking, who in the world do I even know at Delta? And then it dawned on me, about a month prior to this conversation with my dad, I had been to a party, and I had met the new president of Delta. At the time, it was a man by the name of Jerry Greenstein, or whatever his name was. So anyway, I had met him at this party, and I have his card, because I'm a good networker, and I always exchange business cards. I call him up, and his secretary answers the phone. I said, is Mr. Greenstein there? And she goes, no, he's not, but can I help you? So I said, well, my name is Barbara Kauffman, and I had dinner with him the other night. If he was in this room right now, I wouldn't know him, and he would not know me. And I said, I had dinner with him the other night, and I proceed to tell her the problem. She goes, let me find out what I can do for you. Well, I'm going to make a really long story short. About 14 hours later, my dad calls me, and he goes, Barbara, I will never doubt you again. Lo and behold, she got them on a plane to New York, had someone pick them up in New York, took them to the passport place, changed their passport, got them on another plane directly to South Africa, and they made it within 2 hours of their original scheduled time to be in South Africa. So it's who you know, not what you know. Networking is really important. Number 6, focus, focus, focus. Okay. What does that mean? We have to stay focused. For me, what it means, here's an example. If you walk into the drugstore to buy shampoo and a birthday card and you get home and you forgot that birthday card, you are so upset with yourself and your attitude goes down the tube. But if you had been focused, if you had had a to-do list, you would not have forgotten this. So being focused, having that to-do list is so, so important to success and having a good attitude. For me, not only does it keep me straight and organized, every time I cross something off my to-do list, my attitude soars and I already feel totally successful. So stay focused, and you will accomplish so much more. Have that to-do list with you and on your desk when you walk in the morning so you just know exactly what has to be done. Number 7, passion and enthusiasm. 2 great components of success and a great attitude. They are so self-explanatory, but they really happen every day in a bookstore. Let's say you walk into a bookstore and someone says to you, oh my God, this book is good. You might buy it and you might not buy it. But if they say, oh my God, this is the best book I've ever read, I stayed up all night reading it, and that's what they say about my book, then you will definitely buy that book. So passion and enthusiasm are so, so important, even if you have to fake it. And I am sure we have all faked passion and enthusiasm at least once in our life. Remember one more thing. Start with the telephone. Use your passion and enthusiasm when you answer your phone. You don't ever know who is on the other end of the line, what business, what opportunity there is. Don't answer your phone, hello. Answer your phone, hi, this is Barbara, like you are excited to know who is on the other end of the line. Number 8, everything is a sales job. Everything we do in life is a sales job. Selling is not just selling a product from one person to another. Selling is anything from talking your staff into moving the copier from one end of the office to another, selling an idea, selling, convincing your spouse to take the garbage out. Everything in life is selling. If you approach things in your life as if you're making a sale, you will accomplish more things. So remember, everything in life is a sales job. Number 9, balance your life. Okay, people ask me all the time, how have you accomplished so much? How do you keep your life balanced? Well, I have a trick, and I'm going to share it with you. You balance your days and not your life. Okay, balance your days, not your life. Now, what do I mean by that? Take the 5 things that are most important to you. For me, it's my family, my friends, my work, my exercise, and my community involvement. And I spend a little bit of time on each of those every single day. I talk to my family. I have them for dinner every Friday night. I talk to my friends on my cell phone to and from work. Work is we all work. Exercise, I put it on my calendar just like a business meeting. I don't miss business meetings. I don't miss my exercise. You spend about 20 minutes a day on community involvement. You'd be shocked what you accomplish at the end of a week and at the end of a month. So remember, the more balanced your life, the more successful you will be, and statistics have proven that. So balance your days and not your life. Number 10. Diet and exercise. You're probably wondering, what in the world do diet and exercise have to do with a good attitude and success? Think of it like this. Has anybody in this room ever lost 3 pounds? Okay, most of us, okay? What happens? You wear something in your closet you haven't worn in a long time, you feel really good, and when you feel really good and you have that extra beat in your step, you're more successful, you accomplish more, you feel better about yourself. So, diet and exercise are extremely important. A little bit about each. Diet. Okay, I have my diet tips in my book. They're Barbara's tips. They're sort of strange, but they work for me. I'll give you one example. When I first got married to my husband, Richard, we had a party. And we had a piece of, and we had this cake, and it was the most, I can remember it today. It's been like 17 years ago. And it was so delicious, and we finished the party. There was a bunch left. We put it in the refrigerator. The next day, he comes home from work, and he says, I have been thinking about that dessert all day long. He says, I'm going to have a piece for before dinner. And I looked at him, and I went, Richard, there isn't any. And he goes, what do you mean there isn't any? When I left this morning, there was a whole big sheet cake left. And I said, I threw it down the disposal. He says, you did what? I said, listen, there wouldn't have been any either way. Either I would have eaten it all or it had to go down the disposal. So that's a Barbara's trick. He learned a very valuable lesson. Hide anything that he knew that I might eat or throw down the disposal. Exercise, very important. I hope you're all on a routine. As Tim said, I do triathlons. I started slow. That's the key. Don't do too much at once. You know, we decide we're going to exercise. We go to the gym every single day for a week. We're so sore we can't walk, and then we never go again. Start off slow. I started walking, then I started running, then I started biking, and I put it all together. I do triathlons. I did a half Ironman most recently, which was swim 1.2 miles, bike 54, then run a half marathon of 13 miles, and I swam in the Savannah River, which was really disgusting. I've done the New York Marathon. I've swam in the Hudson River where jellyfish were biting my feet, and but it's really fun and challenging. So diet and exercise, one great, another tool. So remember my 10 steps. They will make you more successful. Knowledge and hard work are important, but it's a good attitude following the 10 steps, which will make you the most successful in your day-to-day life. Thank you so much.